All right, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for attending the Centerity Future-Proofing Your Data Center with Business Service Management. We're going to spend the next 30 minutes together, and again, we appreciate you joining us. You'll hear from two of us. This is Michael Braverman. I'm the Director of North American in Sales, and I'll be following, actually, the initial presenter, which is John Snow, who's our VP of Marketing. He's going to give you an overview of the platform and the value proposition, and then I'll do a live demo, and following that, we'll leave some time to answer questions, and yes, and we do have a drawing for those who stayed to the end. We'll pull a name for a $100 gift card. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to John.
Thanks, Michael. This is John Snow, and I run marketing here at Centerity, and it's my pleasure to welcome you and offer you a good afternoon. Why don't we dive right in? Let's get started with some of the basics, right? Centerity is not a new company. We've been in business for about 10 years. We've specialized in IT operations, and really at the heart of what we're doing is making the promise of BSM from about 7 years ago into a reality, replacing a lot of the work that was always done by consultants and system integrators with a software platform that takes a lot of the headache out of it and delivers a true BSM solution. And the key to having a true BSM platform, the only reason to go that direction really, is for future-proofing your SLAs. So let's dive into this. So business service management, what most people refer to as BSM, the BSM platform is really about improving service level agreements, ensuring that you meet your service level agreement guarantees, and that you improve customer satisfaction. So it's all about SLA and CSAT, and improving that quickly, reliably, and economically. Within Centerity, or with Centerity, you'll see that we've got world-class customers, we've got world-class partners, and we've received a few cool awards over the years. But the key here is about BSM is that it's a system-level approach for improving performance of your IT operations. So what is really at the heart of BSM? It's about balancing business drivers, and business drivers haven't changed in, I think forever, but certainly a couple hundred years. It's all about time, cost, and quality. You can throw different words in there like performance, revenue, and reliability. I don't really care. It's about time, cost, and quality. And if you get that, though, any of those wrong, or you emphasize one over the other, you start to have problems. You start to have service levels that are inadequate for what customers are expecting. You start to have too many false alarms, what some people would call false positives, with regard to chasing down phantom problems, and you have downtime. And even in this day and age of cloud and high reliability systems where you've got failover, it may not be downtime, but it's certainly latency, it's certainly poor performance within that. So BSM sits at the nexus of time, cost, and quality, and it's the art of balancing those three variables. The key business metrics that we like to focus on, you may have others, but the ones that we tend to focus on are SLA, which is about your service levels, NTF, that stands for no trouble found, also known as false alarms or false positives, MTTR, that's downtime or just plain old poor performance. And those are, if you do your job right, you're looking at those things, those are all leading indicators of what your customer satisfaction is going to be, your CSAT. And if you get your CSAT right, you're guaranteed to have predictable revenue. It's just, that's the key to having repeat customers. If you get it wrong, the business impact is you're going to have wasted time, which costs you in terms of opportunity. You're going to have increased costs in terms of penalties and resources, and you're going to have a poor reputation in the marketplace. You're going to be known as being unreliable. So BSM is all about delivering high performance within time, cost, and quality goals. So where's the problem? The challenge of delivering BSM really comes down to a monitoring problem. It has to do with inconsistent measurements. There are simply too many silos of data, because for any company, each organization, business process, and system is monitored differently. And that actually impairs performance management. It impairs your ability to understand what's happening with the business processes. So whether you're looking at business applications, like production or ERP, whether you're looking at technology like operating systems, containers, or storage, or if you're looking at how it's deployed, whether it's a multi-tenant environment, hybrid, on-prem, virtualization, all of these things are monitored differently. They have different metrics that tell you how things are running. And there's no consistent way to bring it all up into one common view. So when it comes to guaranteeing SLAs, accurate decisions really require that all this data be in the proper context. So let's take a look at how traditional monitoring tries to solve this problem. We're all familiar with technology layers. And so here you can see we've got specialty tools designed to monitor all the different servers, all the different storage devices, all the different nets and sub-networks out there. And you've got specialists who are trying to find problems on specific devices. And that's what they specialize at. As you continue down, all right, you start to see how you've got dashboards, but those dashboards are focused on specific layers, all the way down to the device layer. So you end up trying to monitor and master thousands of metrics to identify risks and recognize trends. The problem is there are simply too many of these silos of data. It's just too many metrics for people to master. So what's the result of that? Well, traditional monitoring gives you traditional results. Simply put, too many IT operations still use a break-fix process, where when you look at how things are running, over on the left, you've got green, everything is normal operation. Over on the right, you've got red, where you've got an outage. And in between, you have a range of warnings and alerts. And the way things work today is that when you're monitoring specific layers, you don't always know what's going on other layers that may be affecting the business process. So you don't know that a business process has gone south until you get a phone call from the person relying on that business process or business service. And that's an issue. It's a break-fix mentality where network operating centers are forced to work in a constant state of emergency. And that typically results in finger pointing and blame shifting on a daily basis. It's a highly reactive, event-driven service management environment that is sort of standard operating procedure, but it's not helping businesses become more profitable and more efficient. And that's what BSM is about. So BSM takes a different approach to this. This is how Centerity views the world. Let's take the same layers, the same devices. We're not changing anything inside there. But now, instead of looking at the specialty tools that are designed for monitoring servers or monitoring storage, we're taking a cut vertically through all the layers, just following the thread, the digital thread, if you will, of the manufacturing line one. All right. What are the applications that's relying on? Which servers is it running on? What storage devices? What network? All the way down to the device. And then we score that. What is the SLA of manufacturing line one? What is the SLA of accounts receivable? What is the SLA of your inventory system? And what this results in is at the end of the day is it's evaluating each critical business service across all of the technology layers, which allows a strategic response to problems. You can prioritize those issues that impact profit and loss, depending upon the time of year, where you are in your sales cycle, whatever it might be. On any given fiscal year, there are times when manufacturing is less important than accounts receivable. And then there are times when inventory is more important than accounts receivable. And so as a result, you can start to prioritize which business services get first crack at IT resources to keep them running at peak performance. What is the result of a BSM approach? Well, now, because we're looking at the vertical cuts through all those layers, now what we have is we have the ability to see exactly we can watch the degradation over time as different devices are throwing off different alarms. Some of them are severe, some of them are not. Some of them are easy to overlook and aren't relevant. But you always have an SLA score for each critical business service. So these are configurable alerts and alarms that allow early and accurate diagnosis of your SLA risks. And so once this is put into place, what you see is you're able to diagnose problems sooner, which gets you better answers faster. So a true BSM system is really an SLA early warning system. It gives you early accurate diagnosis of SLA risks. So what do you need to have a true BSM environment? Well, you've got to have full stack technology analytics across all the different technology layers. It's really a service level roll up by business process across all of those layers, whether they're apps, storage, or compute. You also need, for true BSM, to be able to support a hybrid environment where some of the systems are on-prem and some are in the cloud, and some are split between the two with a hybrid type environment. So you need to be able to have a service level roll-up across all deployment models. You also need to be able to support a scalable and multi-tenant environment, whether you're an MSP with multiple customers or whether you're a worldwide corporation that has manufacturing facilities in 3 different countries. You want to be able to have a single dashboard that shows how each customer or each division or department is operating. So you need service level roll-up across all organizations. So the result of doing this right, which we believe we have, is a true BSM dashboard where you're taking IT analytics and turning them into business impact so that you can monitor things and gauge how everything is working in your logistics, in your service and support, within engineering or finance or sales and marketing. And the executives that are responsible for those areas can also have the same gauge and know how their systems are working. It also allows you to connect into things like ServiceNow, which is how you're going to deploy your resources to go fix the equipment. So what we've effectively done here is we've replaced silo monitoring with service level management. Now, what else do you need? True BSM is only possible when you can support all advanced technologies right out of the box. So whether it's big data, whether it's converged or hyper-converged infrastructure, cloud technologies, containers, databases, you need to be able to support all of this. And when new technology comes out, bringing that online within the BSM has to be a matter of hours, not weeks. And that's what you're looking for, is a platform that can adapt to all of these changes, new advanced technologies that quickly. Okay, you also, for true BSM, you also need to have full topology discovery. So you've got to be able to have tools that can go onto the network and quickly evaluate all the nets and subnets on there, all of the devices on those networks, and all of the applications that are being run on those networks, so that you can understand and build the business service management model. You also, in this day and age of IoT coming on strong and deploy devices out on the edge, you have to be able to have full IoT support, or IIoT if you want to call it, Industrial Internet of Things. But at the end of the day, what you're looking for is a unified IT performance analytics platform, which is what Zenterity BSM is, across all of the layers, full stack monitoring through any environment with connectivity to all of your back-end systems that are required to keep your NOC up and running properly. It's a single pane of glass for end-to-end BSM. And with that, I thank you for your time, and I'll turn it over to Michael for the demonstration.
All right, John, thank you for that. All right, so you should be looking at a dashboard. So I guess one of the points to emphasize here is that really the goal is to provide the right visibility into your infrastructure across any role in the organization, any layer of technology, and any environment. The other goal would be it should be simple and easy to use. So if the director of sales can demo the product, pretty good pretty good sense that the rest of you out there should be able to do the same. So there's a lot of details here. We'll take you sort of just through some of the highlights and encourage you to engage us further if you want to see more details. But again, out of the box, what you want to be able to see if we're talking about roles, if you're an executive, dials and gauges, things that give you a sense of what's going on with the health of systems being up or down. You can see that in the first couple of blocks. You know, if you're an operations person, perhaps you want to see, you know, the health of systems by type, perhaps application servers versus Citrix servers, which you see down in this corner. Or perhaps you're sitting in the NOC, and the thing that's most important to you are the critical events, the metrics that are actually causing some sort of an action to happen, much the way John talked about outages. Those are the ones we'd like to prevent from happening, but again, when they do, you want to see them. I'm going to give you the other thing we can do on dashboards is they're customizable. So again, not everyone views data the same way. And so we've got a dashboard designer that will allow you, for example, if you can create a map or a picture of something, then we can create live links for it, which you see an example of in this corner here. You know, if you've got folks on the development or engineering side and they want to see kind of how the technology is structured and laid out, well, you can look at it through this kind of a picture. And again, reiterating that whether they're dials or gauges, you have the flexibility to change these dashboards as you need and as are relevant to your organization. Up at the top here, again, because you want to be able to react quickly, the thing that's going to be most important is, are there something critical happening with my business services? So if we click on this icon, the thing that we're going to see immediately is which business services in my organization are experiencing some kind of a critical event, and these two are. If we drive in or drill into it, what we'll see is that this MSP customer D, again, just an example, is made up of a variety of technologies. But very quickly, just by glancing, we can see the problems in the MySQL area. So if we drive a little bit deeper into that, what we'll see as we scroll down is there's a problem specifically with MySQL. If we look a little bit more into the metric, we'll gather a lot more details about exactly, you know, what this event is. Now, in this use case, what normally would happen is you might want to assign this to an engineer. So you might want to open up a ticket. So we provide the mechanism to open up tickets to any of the ticketing systems you may have in your organization, whether those are ServiceNow, Remedy, or others like that. So returning back, or actually probably a quicker way of navigating there is, let's go take a look at a couple of the services where maybe there isn't a critical event happening, but you want to prevent that. So when things are in the yellow, they're probably trending towards some kind of a performance issue. So let's go drill a little deeper into the HANA on Cisco business service. Again, consistently, you see we're going to outline for you all of the layers of technology addressing the any layers point we made earlier. And so you see those identified here. Again, pretty quickly we see the problems likely in the network, so we can drill down deeper. The other thing you can do is sometimes it's easier to view these things through a different visualization. And so in this example, we have these hypermaps. So quickly we can see, all right, you know, if this is in a state that requires requires us to look at it, you can see quickly that the network is having a problem, and from there we can expand it out, and we'll see where the problem is. Again, it's with the HP ProCurve device. So let's jump back out of business services. Again, if I go to the main menu, this is a place where you can see all of your services in one screen, rather than jumping to them based on what's running or what's just in a temporary state. The other way, and again, so what you're looking at here is real-time data. The other way you want to look at data is through reports. So we can send reports to your email, to your text, and again, it's another form of looking at the information. So I wanted to take a look at what our reports on SLAs. We were looking at business services before, so let's stay and be consistent. Let's look at that HANA and UCS, generate a report. We want to see what's been happening over the last 12 hours. And we'll just hit this. Again, the way this report is in the style that's probably more applicable to an executive. It gives them just kind of the high level, how is the system been running, And again, to somebody, they can delve in a little deeper and see by system, how well those things have been running and see it in a report. You can also, let's take a look at a report that might be more applicable to an engineering type. So in this case, maybe what we want to look at is all those different. We want to look at what's going on with my network devices. I think we've got some network devices. Let's take a look at those. And again, you'll see in this case, that there's a lot more data presented, and it's going to be more relevant to somebody who's in an engineering role versus the executive role. So we can report on any of the data that we collect out of the system through this mechanism. We can also visualize the data in different ways. For example, again, oftentimes you'll see a map like this in a network operations center, showing you geographically perhaps where the different remote and data center infrastructure sits. You might look at it from we know we're having a problem with our storage device. And if we want to go direct an engineer to go into the data center, it might be easier for that person to take a look and say, oh, I realize that that's the VNX system sitting in the rack, and if they clicked on it, they would get the exact fault that generated that. So again, kind of mapping the way people need to see the data to the role that they play in the organization. Now you might be wondering, how do you actually build this environment out? Well, we've got discovery, and John talked a little bit about that earlier. So this again, and I'm not going to go through and all the screens to do this, but for all intents and purposes, we have multiple ways to do discovery, and we can do it by just picking subnets on the network, to picking the types of servers, maybe they're Windows environments, to SNMP. But we can go out, auto discover all of the elements that sit in your network, and then we can create the CMDB with all of the inventory about hardware, software, and the way the applications are mapped. I showed you a little bit, we talked a little bit about business services, and again, we're not going to go through and create one from scratch here, but just so you get a sense of the way it's done, we've got a mechanism to allow us to change what kind of an impact the layers of technology have on that business service. So you can see here's applications, and currently we've got this weighted at 25%. If we look down at the network, that's weighted at 20. Well, maybe we happen to know that our network's not very reliable, so we might change that to 50 or 60. So you have all of the power to control those thresholds for the way your business services are going to generate the alerts that are important to you. I'm going to jump back out and show you real quickly, in addition to the business service monitoring and the layers of technologies, we can actually delve a little deeper into specifically network traffic. And so this is an additional tool to our offering. And oftentimes, you'll see traffic analyzers in the marketplace allowing you to look at traffic bandwidth and patterns between source and destinations. Net flow and J flow and S flow and all these different network flows. The reason that we are different, again, and we don't sell this product on its own, we sell it in conjunction, because imagine, again, if we got to the point in that layer of network that I showed you previously, we can actually then drive deeper into it and really see exactly what's happening on that network, whether it's what protocols are using up our bandwidth, whether it's which hosts are talking more and creating more network utilization. Again, another tool that we have that allows us to kind of fulfill the objective of business service management, meaning we can delve all the way down into the network up through the applications. So with that, I think we've kind of given you a taste of how the environment works. And hopefully you take from that it's all about visibility and relating it to the right role in the organization, the right layers of technology, and the right kind of environment, whether you're an MSP or a large multinational company with different functional data centers that you want to represent. So I'm gonna stop for a moment and see if there are any questions. We'll just pause. I realize that sometimes you're shy out there, you don't want to type your question, but All right. Okay. Well, I have one here. It's asking the question: do I need to replace all of my existing monitoring tools to take advantage of Centerity's BSM platform? And the answer is no. You don't need to replace all of those. One of the things I think, and John showed you that a little earlier, and hopefully you can see it through the demo. The platform's flexible, and we can take in data from any kind of device. We can also take in data from any kind of monitoring tool. So in order to manage a migration perhaps to maybe just a single tool, we can act as a manager of managers. I think what you'd find though, is that we can take a lot of costs out of having to deploy multiple tools, because even if you own it, you're paying support on it. And so if we can reduce that footprint so that you've got one single pane of glass, one tool, it'll take a lot of cost out of your monitoring budget. Let's see. Here's another question somebody sent. They're saying, well, we have APM. You know, isn't that just going to be good enough for monitoring and ensuring the health of our applications? And again, you know, this is more of a coexistence strategy, but an understanding that APM does a great job of looking inside of the application and helping you understand the way it performs, particularly for web-facing applications. But what it's not doing is it's not letting you know if your app's being impacted by the technology on which it sits. Remember, there are firewalls, there are load balancers, there's application servers, there's a ton of technology underpinning the app. And APM offerings don't address that level of detail. So frankly, we coexist quite well. We can take in some of the data, factor it into our BSM process, and make for an even more accurate service level agreement. Okay, I've got another question here about the pricing model. And again, this is I would almost call it a feature of the system, because the pricing model is very flexible, very simple, just like the user interface we demonstrated to you, but it's all based on metrics. All of what we're measuring are, whether you call it a metric or a KPI for a network or for an operating system, or for the amount of memory used in your operating system or storage, any of those metrics to us, a metric's a metric. And all you're really purchasing is a pool of them. And you can flexibly migrate them from one device to another and decommission devices, and still, as long as you stay within your pool of metrics, it's a very, very simple pricing model. And the more metrics that you purchase, the lower the price per metric it is. Let's see. I don't think we have any other questions. I'm going to pause again. All right. Well, on behalf of John Snow and Centerity, we thank you for participating, and we look forward to maybe carrying on these conversations individually with you. Expect a follow-up with the presentation and perhaps a recording of the webinar with a goal of perhaps doing a one-on-one session and delving into some more detail. Thank you.
Thank you.